Awesome. Hi everyone. How are you? How's your day been? At least in Nairobi, it's almost the end of the day, and we are excited about kicking off the Monival Mondays webinar series. Today we'll be discussing, how to get started with monitoring and evaluation automation. And I'm joined by my colleague Joseph. Joseph is an expert software engineer, mainly handling monitoring and evaluation solutions, as well as other being a technical leader across other technologies. So Joseph, the floor is yours. Kick it off.
Thank you very much, Amos. Hello, everyone. As Amos stated before, and I'm a software engineer at Sibasi and a specialist at monitoring and evaluation. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to this session. Guess we can now start. So today, being the first session that you're having, we'll be focusing on getting started with monitoring and evaluation automation. So what we'll get to highlight is in an introduction on what monitoring and evaluation is. Then we get to see methods and processes that are involved during this process. Then after we look into that, then we look into how can we automate this process. Then finally, we complete with the Q&A. But if you do have a question, please feel free to send it on the chat. Okay, so what is monitoring and evaluation? I'll break it into two. So we can break it into monitoring and then we look into evaluation. So monitoring is the continuous process of reviewing the project. Let's say we are monitoring evaluation. We are doing a monitoring on a certain project that we have at hand. It's a continuous process of looking into the inputs that go into it, the activities that should be accomplished to achieve what you're planning, and the outputs that come out of these particular activities. Then we do have the evaluation process of it. The evaluation process will involve looking into what was planned, what was the strategy that we came up with before we started, what was the outcome of it. The outcome is what was achieved and how did you get to achieve that. Now, when you can now combine both, and then when we combine both, you can get to see the full flow, starting from the inputs. Inputs include time that was spent, any money that was invested in this particular project. You can look into the activities. Activities include visiting various regions, holding meetings. Of course, training also will be part of activities. Then from that, the outputs, after activities, the next step will be the outputs. Outputs are what people were impacted by this particular process. The community people, clients, maybe patients. Then the next thing will be the outcome. Outcome is a short-term effect that was produced from this flow, which include maybe skills people gained, and the last one will be an impact, which is of course the long-term effect, including how economically people are affected, or socially they're also affected. Then you can see how they're split into two, but they're one process. So who are the people who use who need and use the M&D information? So you can check government. We can look into government and donors tend to use the information to inform and improve future programs. Let's say how a certain project proceeded. They can use this particular information to ensure the next time they have maybe a better impact. You can look into stakeholders who need to be informed on what happened. Let's say donors provided a particular amount of money for this particular project. They need to be informed on how that money is being used. Then we now proceed to methods and processes. So For the M&E, there are particular methods that are used. I'll just highlight a few, which include performance indicator. There's also the logical framework approach. The performance indicators are mostly, maybe most of you have heard referred to as the KPIs, under which the particular organization that is using that particular method, they can analyze the data that they have that was provided to them. They don't use this particular method to make profit out of it, but to analyze on how in future they can make this process a little bit better. So the next thing, after we've gone through the methods, we could proceed to the process under which basically the process under which M&E will go through. These are not definite steps. Different organizations use different methods, but this generalizes almost most of the methods. This will include define the purpose and the scope. This before you begin the project, agreeing on the outcomes and objectives that you expect to come out of this particular process. Then you need to look into which tools will be used to collect the data, which tools will be used to analyze, which include maybe Power BI if you're planning to go the automated way. We can also look into how data will be organized and where the data will lie. And also we can plan the information flow and the reporting requirements. The last two steps include planning reflection process and the resources that and the skills that will be required for this process to be successful. So how can we automate the M&E process? So the M&E process, I'll just highlight 3 ways at the moment in which you can automate it. You can decide to use Excel, where you can log the data, and from the Excel, you can be able to produce reports based off certain calculations that fit your process. You can also use scorecard, and there are I won't say very many, but there are various software tools that are online that have already automated this process, and one of them includes Monival. So what are the major issues faced during this monitoring and evaluation process? Broken down it into 3. The major issues that are faced is collecting data, getting to analyze data, and generate reports from this particular data. So for collecting data, you can use various tools. As we mentioned before, you can use Excel, you can use ODK. For analyzing and visualizing this data, you can use Power BI or Tableau. There are other major softwares that you can use for this particular to analyze the data that you have. And finally, you need to prepare reports after you've made your analysis. And one of the tools that people get to use is Microsoft Word. So all this, for all these major issues, as you've seen, there are various technologies, but we do have one tool that comes as a package, and it makes it easier for you to perform all these 3 from one centralized place, and it's called Monival. Monival is a product of Cibasi Limited. It was designed and developed by monitoring and evaluation experts. So we'll just dive into Monival and what highlight basically what it does. So I'll just for anyone who would like to view the site, you can just visit monival.com. So from here, you can get to see Monival concentrates on 3 major things, which is to plan, to execute, and to report. These three things get to highlight, get to resolve the major issues that we face on the monitoring and evaluation. So I'll just highlight on these three. So on the Monival software itself, we do have the planning module, which is the major thing that we get to see on this system. So the planning module will allow you to be able to create a proposal first in the system. Your proposal will go through the stages of review. The documents will get to be analyzed. The proposal documents will get to be analyzed, and finally, after a proposal has been approved, it gets to become a project, which also falls under this planning module. So you can create a project. Directly from a proposal, or if you just need to create a project from scratch, that's still possible. Then from creating a project, you can set the targets for that particular project and get to see, you'll get to track the project from the different stages which it gets to go through until the project is finally complete. The next module I would like to highlight is the execution module. The execution module gets to provide features that support various stakeholders based off the list that I mentioned earlier, the Monival methods that are required. We get to see some of the methods being applied here in the execution module. It's also available on the web and also on the mobile. For the mobile, it makes it easier for the field workers when they go to collect information, and they need to be able to query to log in the data real quick without having to carry bulk machinery, let's say a laptop. We also have they can also get to provide survey forms for the particular field work that they go to do. Let's say they have a group of people, and you can get to see reports from that. And finally, we'll get to highlight the reporting module. This is a very major module based off the two previous steps. Without this module, without this module, the first two steps won't really be of importance. So the reports helps us basically to get the reports from the data that we've collected. And the good thing about it is that these reports will be generated automatically by the system based off the data that was produced. And they're also customizable for you, where you get to generate different charts based off the data that you have. And it's the report module. The good thing about it is you can also get to connect it with other systems that can feed it data, or you can also upload data, let's say via Excel, and get to generate the particular reports that you need to see from this particular system. So that's so basically that's the overview of monitoring and evaluation system and how you can get to automate it, most especially using the Monival tool. So go to the Q&A section. So in case anyone has a question or you need clarification on any of the things that I've highlighted, you can send a chat.
Thanks, Joseph. I think that was quite informative, and being the first of many webinars where we'll be sharing, nifty, nice, short quick, easy to use nuggets on how to work around monitoring and evaluation. It's quite informative and quite a good overview. So looking at the chat, it seems there's no question that has come in. It seems we should be able to conclude today's webinar. Look forward to the next set of Monival Mondays, where we'll be discussing various aspects of monitoring and evaluation. And as we go into details on how do you achieve such items on the comprehensive solution that Joseph has just highlighted, called Monival, which stands mainly for monitoring and evaluation. Thank you so much for joining in, and we look forward to the next one. Good day.